medications.
So, I mean, how extreme is the criteria in order to be eligible for this?
So in year one of the planned rollout, you have to have a body mass index of greater than 40, as well as 4 of 5 very specific health problems that include cardiovascular disease, things like strokes, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, dyslipidemia, and sleep apnea severe enough to require treatment.
I don't know what half of those were, but I have half of them. So, hello and welcome to my home. We're going to do a reaction today on something that just popped up on the news. I haven't watched it all. I see a bit, and it's about the NHS supplies and private. What's it affecting everyone? It's just popped up, and it sounds like it could be important. So I thought we could react to it together, and we'll work it out because you guys sometimes, well, not sometimes, all the time, are smarter than me. So whatever I don't get, you guys will. So let's watch this and let's see what it says, see what they're saying. All right, so let's get into this.
There is concern that thousands of people who could benefit from the weight loss jab Mounjaro on the NHS in England are missing out due to a lack of funding. Most people currently buy the drug privately, but in June, GPs in England began offering it to patients for the first time. The government hopes as many as 3.4 million people could eventually benefit from the drug, but there are concerns about accessibility for patients. This is what the Health Secretary was speaking on Top Breakfast earlier this week.
All right, just before we carry on, I'm telling you, we're all going to have a big problem. This last few weeks has been absolute crazy for everyone, and people most people are buying it private. I can't afford it. No, some of us can't afford it. I don't know if I can the next couple of weeks. I really, really don't know. And it's going to be, even for the people on the NHS now, it seems like it's a big mess up. But look, let's just see what they're saying.
I am really uncomfortable about the fact that those who can benefit from these jabs and afford these jabs are accessing them, and those who might benefit but can't afford them are being left out. And that goes against my principles, the Labour government's principles, and the principles of the NHS.
So where's treating there?
All right, so yeah, it's true, because like, if you can afford it, the more power to you. But if you can't, we're going to struggle. And some people are running to the NHS, which I did as well. And the criteria that they said, I'll tell you about that at the end when we find out what's going on.
Where's treating there? Question is, how quickly will eligible patients be able to get their hands on Mounjaro? The British Medical Journal says less than a quarter of health commissioners have the funding they require, and has raised questions of the speed of the rollout.
I don't think there's been much communication with the public about this, about who will be able to get it, about the financial constraints that the NHS is under in trying to roll this out, and also clarity on when they can go to their GP. Should they be contacting their GP to try and get this drug? Will their GP contact them? And kind of locally, whether or not services are up and running, which we found in most of the country they're not.
All right, so yeah, I do believe that the NHS, and well, it's not just everyone, especially when you're trying to get on the NHS, they're not quite saying how, they're not giving us the right information, because all the information I was given to start the Mounjaro was kind of up and down. Then all the information I've been given recently was, oh, you're eligible. And then when I ring my GP, who, I'll be honest with you, aren't great. Yeah, but anyway, they said I'm not eligible. So which is it? Nobody seems to know. It's just all over the place. So I'll tell you what happened at the end.
So in response, the NHS says it's fully supporting the phased rollout for eligible patients, and that new weight loss services are being established and scaled up over time, starting with those who are in the most need.
Let's talk to Dr. Jonathan Hazelhurst, who's a consultant endocrinologist. Dr. Hazelhurst, thank you very much for joining us here on BBC Breakfast. These findings, some people will be really concerned about this. What do you make of it?
I think the concern is totally justified. At the moment, there are very strict rules about eligibility criteria to access these medications that have been put in place by NHS England to try to manage demand. But the data demonstrates quite clearly that even those very strict eligibility criteria are not being adequately funded.
So even if you do hit the criteria for the NHS, you may not be eligible. Well, no, you will be eligible, but you may have to wait, which I was kind of told back when I first started Mounjaro. So again, this is going to be a nightmare for everyone. And it's just, this is a real thing. This is a serious thing because it's helping people. We're getting the help we need. And then all of a sudden, it's what's worse is knowing there's something that can help you, something we've never had that can help you, but it's out of reach. That's especially if you're on it like me. Well, not especially, but if you're on it and then you might have to stop, doesn't even, all right, look, even if you're on it, if you're not on it and you can't get to it, it's crazy, even through the NHS, but all right.
In terms of adequate funding, I mean, we've heard from the government as well in terms of what it intends to do, but in terms of adequate funding, what would adequate funding look like in terms of who would be treated?
Absolutely. So there is a planned rollout of these medications that's set to take 12 years, which leaves a lot of patients shortchanged and left behind as disease progresses clearly over that duration. But even within these very strict rules that have been established to try and manage that delayed rollout, to phase it in slowly, we know that NHS England is talking about trying to treat 220,000 patients in the first 3 years of that rollout, which is a worthy but small ambition.
That's
but
low.
Actually, the funding that's been announced so far only covers 10% of that total 220,000 patients they look to treat in the first 3 years. So there's clearly been a mismatch between the numbers that are put out in the media about NHS England's ambitions and the funding that's been made available to providers to actually initiate these medications.
Now, of course, if you take something like Mounjaro.
So basically what he's saying is that, in case you didn't pick up on it, and maybe I'm getting it wrong, but the NHS have all these people want to be on Mounjaro, should be and fit the criteria for Mounjaro. And basically that they're not able to fund or cover the amount of people that they're trying to do 250,000 in 3 years. And there's probably about 1 million odd people trying to get it on the NHS because they need it. And they're only covering 10% of that 250,000 at the moment. So, wow. Yeah. So look, I'm not putting down the NHS or anything. I'm just saying because at least they're doing it, but it's just, it's going to be a long road for everyone, especially for everyone.
It's not just a case of take Mounjaro, lose weight, job done. There is more to it than that in terms of being treated and being able to live a healthier or have a healthier body.
Absolutely. The data demonstrates that these drugs shouldn't be used in isolation and should be associated with what we call wraparound care. There are big problems as well with the rollout of wraparound care. There are a list of approved providers, both from NICE and NHS Digital, but nationally those providers aren't being used, and actually instead a different program called the Diabetes Prevention Program is being stood up. Now, wraparound care is extremely important for many patients with severe and complex disease, but it's important to note that there are approximately now 1.5 million people in England alone on a private prescription who are getting little to no wraparound care whatsoever. So clearly wraparound care is important, but there's a big mismatch between the number of people able to buy these drugs.
There's no, my phone. There's no wraparound care, but our community is our care. Do you know what I mean? All of us here in the Mounjaro community are our own care at the moment. We're all looking out for each other. So we have that. But yeah, I haven't got any care from anyone. Nobody seems to be bothered, and God knows what. I'm at home injecting myself. If I've got that correct anyway.
And the number of patients in their tens, if not hundreds of thousands left behind who aren't able to self-fund these medications.
So, I mean, how extreme is the criteria in order to be eligible for this?
So in year 1 of the planned rollout, you have to have a body mass index of greater than 40, as well as 4 of 5 very specific health problems that include cardiovascular disease, things like strokes, type 2 diabetes, hypertension, dyslipidemia, and sleep apnea severe enough to require treatment. So we're talking about very, very restrictive eligibility criteria for patients really who are already quite significantly affected by health.
I don't know what half of those were, but I have half of them. So, I don't have heart problems, but I've hypertension, and I've got that they think I might have sleep apnea, but I haven't gone to find out. And high blood pressure and diabetes type 2. And my BMI is 47. Well, I don't know what it is now. It's gone down, surely. I've lost 28 pounds or something. But yeah, but as I say, like, so I fit the criteria, but they wouldn't give it to me.
Health consequences of their lived obesity.
And some people may not understand how Mounjaro or weight loss drugs can help with those other conditions. Can you give me an example of someone who has been affected by this and the impact it's had?
Yeah, absolutely. We had some small non-recurrent funding for a while using these medications in patients with very severe complex obesity. And in our hands, we've meant patients have been able to lose weight, to access things like kidney transplant, cancer diagnostics, as well as surgery that they wouldn't otherwise have been able to access. And these patients at the most severe end of the disease spectrum are simply left behind by NHS England's planned rollout over 12 years. There is no funding for those two groups of patients, and I've just listed. So at the moment, there's a real mismatch between the level of expectation by patients, which is totally justified. Patients want the most effective evidence-based treatments to try and help them improve their health. But at the moment, the funding is grossly insufficient and inadequate to do that effectively and safely and at scale.
Dr. Jonathan Hazelhurst, consultant endocrinologist and academic clinical lecturer at the University of Birmingham. Thank you. That's been really useful. Thank you very much for talking to us.
All right, so there you go. Let me tell you quickly what happened to me, right, if you're still watching the video at this point. All right, so how I started on Mounjaro is the doctor, I ignored all the doctors saying about I'm pre-diabetic and all that, and I just ignored it. I got mental health problems and I just ignored it. I didn't care. And then the doctor rang me up one day saying, look, we need to talk. You won't see 50. He goes, in the last few years, your blood pressure, everything, your weight, your BMI is just staggeringly high. And it was literally overnight, or a few years. And he goes, you're not going to see 50. You need to do something. And you got diabetes type 2 now, which I was, so what? But yeah, it turns out I was too stupid to realize how bad it is. Anyway, he suggested Mounjaro, all these things, and was it Ozempic, yeah, and Wegovy and all that. And they said, we can't provide you with that at the moment. We don't do it yet. And I went, all right, you have to pay for it. And we all know 150, 200 pounds a month back then. And so I was on it for a while, still struggling with the 150 pound a month because, I'm not working. I don't go out of the house. I'm crazy, stuff like that. And but then now what they're saying is, oh yeah, so sorry, I'm going back to, I rang the doctor a few weeks ago when the thing went up because I found out about the criteria. And they said to me, well, what we have to do first is we're going to have to send you to a specialist, all right, diabetic specialist. I went, okay. And we're going to have to put you on multiple of other medications first. Yeah, I went, okay. And he goes, to wait to see the specialist could be 3 months. I went, okay. And then they have to give you different drugs, different types of drugs to see if we can help with your diabetes and all that before we give you the drug. I went, okay. That could go on for another year because we have to test the drugs on me. I was like, all right, am I a guinea pig? But yeah, you know what I mean. And then if all else fails, then they can give me Mounjaro. So I do fit the criteria, but I still have to jump through all these hoops. And then when the specialist will say recommend Mounjaro, I still will have to be on the waiting list. So this could be years, So like it's just going to be a nightmare now. So obviously I'm struggling to pay. I'm on 12.5 now, and I'm struggling to pay that every month at the moment. Every month I haven't paid it yet, and I'm like this now. And especially now that the food noise has really kicked in, and this will be coming off soon. Trust me. I reckon a few days from now. I don't want to say what it is yet, but I'm telling you it's coming off soon. But regardless, is that can you imagine now that I have to come off it? Possibly, and then what? You know what I mean? So, and then obviously I do fit the criteria because I do have hypertension. I do have BMI. Well, it was 47. Don't know what it is now. And I have possible sleep apnea, but all right, pretend I don't have it because it's not diagnosed. But I have all the rest of it. So, I I don't fit the criteria. Well, I do fit the criteria because it take years. So what about the people who are in a worse position than me? Yeah, who are you guys, or some of you out there who are in worse situations than I am? How long are you going to wait? You know, because it's crazy. And as I said earlier, with the people who are paying privately, like myself, and for the people who are can't and trying to get on the NHS, and people who just can't in general, well, what are we going to do? I mean, it's just going to be a mess up. The whole thing is going to be a mess up, and I just don't know what to say. So anyway, look, for all you guys who are on Mounjaro and are struggling with this problem, I'm really sorry. I mean, I'm in the zone as well myself, you know, and hopefully things improve, you know. And if any other news comes out, I will let you know as soon as I get it, you know, keep you all updated, keeping myself. And if there's anything that I didn't understand and I got it wrong, let me know in the comments, you know. So hopefully things will change, but it sounds like it's going to get worse before it gets better, you know. And I don't know. Anyway, look, like and subscribe. And if you want to buy me a coffee, you fancy supporting the channel and buy me a coffee, I'll leave the link in the description. No pressure. But anyway, look, I'll check you out on my next video. It won't be long, and this will be coming off real soon. So stay tuned. Okay. So like and subscribe. But for now, and until next time,